Welcome to the course on Smart Energy Meter using GSM. In this course, you will build a remote wireless meter reading system using an energy meter, Arduino board, and a GSM module. So what are smart energy meters? Smart metering systems basically use electric meters and other devices to send data about your energy usage either to your energy supplier or to a device. This system allows you to be able to monitor energy usage at any time from anywhere and also ensures accurate energy readings. Let's understand how the smart metering system works. First, your meter measures and records electricity usage. This data is then transmitted to electricity suppliers via wireless transmission methods such as radio frequency, internet, or cellular networks. The energy usage metrics are accessible to you as well, and they can be viewed or monitored at all times. Smart meters are an essential part of smart grids, which will regulate and provide electricity based on demand, reducing wastage, increasing the efficiency and reliability of power supplies. These smart grids will be integrated into many cities around the world by the year 2020. The components of a smart metering system include a metering unit, such as an energy meter, a control unit, which receives the energy usage data from the energy meter, also controls the supply of power to loads. Let's have a look at the schematic of your smart energy system. The electric meter must read the amount of power being used by a load and will have to transmit the data in the form of pulses to an Arduino Uno board. You will have to program the Arduino board to convert the pulses into readable form of data and then transmit the data to a phone using the GSM module. The data received on the phone must be plotted on a graph to observe the energy usage statistics. In the next video, you will have a look at the components that you will need to develop this project. Thanks for watching. Session on kit unpacking. These are the components required to build a wireless single-phase energy monitoring system, and they will be shipped to you in a kit immediately on purchasing the course. So the components shown here are an analog energy meter, a resistor, a GSM module, an Arduino Uno board, an electric plug, double-side tape, bulb holder, a wooden plank, wires, single pin connectors, USB connector for the Arduino board, and an adapter. In the next module, you will learn how electric energy is measured using energy meters. Thanks for watching. Welcome to the session on electric power. Just like mass in a gravitational field has gravitational potential energy, charges in an electric field have an electric potential energy. A charge's electric potential energy describes how much stored energy it has. When set into motion by an electrostatic force, that energy can become kinetic and the charge can do work. The term electric potential is used to define how much energy is stored in electric fields. At any point in an electric field, the electric potential is the amount of electric fields. At any point in an electric field, the electric potential is the amount of electric potential energy divided by the amount of charge at that point. In any electric field, the difference in potential between 2 points is known as voltage or EMF. Voltage basically gives us an idea of just how much pushing force an electric field has. To understand this with an analogy, consider water in a tank at a certain height above the ground. At the bottom of the tank, there is a hose. The pressure at the end of the hose can represent voltage. The water in the tank represents charge. The more water in the tank, the higher the charge, the more pressure is measured at the end of the hose. In a similar way, the flow of current through a circuit is the flow of positive charges in the circuit, which arises due to the difference in potential at 2 points in the circuit. When current flows through a circuit, The energy contained in the electrons that actually flow in the circuit is known as electrical energy. This electrical energy is sometimes consumed by appliances and converted to some other form of energy, such as heat and light. So, how do we measure how much of this electric energy is being consumed by the appliance in a period of time? This is when converted to some other form of energy, such as heat and light. So, how do we measure how much of this electric energy is being consumed by the appliance in a period of time? This is where the term power comes in. Power is basically the rate at which energy is being used up. To calculate the power of any particular component in a circuit, multiply the voltage drop across it by the current running through it. As an example, calculate the power across the 100 ohm resistor in this circuit. Using Ohm's law, the current across the resistor can be found and then the power consumed by the resistor can be calculated. A resistor transforms electric energy into heat. So this circuit basically transforms 0.81 joules of electric energy to heat every second. All electronic components transfer energy from one type to another. Some energy transfers are desired, such as LEDs emitting light, motors spinning, batteries charging, etc. Other energy transfers are undesirable but also unavoidable. Most components have a rating for maximum power that they can dissipate, and it is important to keep them operating under that value to prevent any damage to the appliance due to overheating and to reduce unnecessary loss of power. This is known as the power rating for that device. Now, how do we produce this electric power? Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction state that any change in magnetic field around a conductor induces a change in electric field around the conductor, which in turn produces current in the coil. The direction of the current flow in the conductor can be found with the help of Fleming's right-hand rule as shown in the diagram. Let's see how this concept is used to produce AC power or alternating current. An AC generator, also known as an alternator, is used to produce AC power. The turning of a coil in a magnetic field produces motional EMFs in both sides of the coil, which add up. Since the component of the velocity perpendicular to the magnetic field changes sinusoidally with rotation, the generated voltage is sinusoidal or AC. The rotating coil is driven by some external means with the help of thermal, tidal, wind, or other forms of energy. For example, in a thermal power plant, the rotor of the alternator is rotated by means of a turbine shaft, and the turbine is driven by means of high temperature and pressure steam. The steam is produced in a boiler by burning coal in the furnace. Now, how is the generated electricity transmitted from the power station to our electric devices? The processes involved are shown here. A power plant generates electricity, which is stepped up to a higher voltage using a transformer, so that the electricity can be carried large distances through transmission lines. The voltage is then stepped down to a lower value to increase the safety before it is distributed for residential or commercial use. Now, there are certain problems that we encounter during the wiring of a practical power supply system. One such concern is the size and cost of wiring necessary to deliver power from the AC source to the load. For example, consider a simple AC circuit shown here. Assume that the loads require 10 kilowatt of power each. If the voltage supplied is 120 volt, then you can calculate the current required in the circuit to power the loads, which equals to a total of 166.6 amperes. For transmission of power over long distances, you need longer and thicker cables so that the resistance of the wires is less. This is impractical because copper is not cheaply available and a substantial amount of wiring is required for 167 amperes of current. A better alternative would be to supply power to the loads at 240 volts AC. Now, if you calculate the total current in the circuit this time, it equals 83.3 amperes, which is a lot lesser than the 166 amperes that we got previously. This means the wiring now decreases substantially. This is why power distribution system designers choose to transmit electric power using very high voltages in the order of thousands of volts to capitalize on savings realized realized by the use of smaller, lighter and cheaper wire. Also, this kind of AC power supply is called single phase as the AC power has only one voltage waveform as shown. An example of a single phase generator is also shown here. For larger amounts of power, three-phase systems are used. Normally, electricity is generated by a coil of wire moving through a magnetic field. The illustration shows three such coils in an electric generator evenly spaced apart. Each coil is called a phase, and as there are three coils, this is called a three-phase system. Using such a system, power can be supplied as single phase, in which the load is connected between a line and a neutral wire, or three-phase, in which the load is connected between all three lines. In the illustration, the motor is connected as a three-phase load, and the socket outlets and the lamp as single-phase loads. In the next video, you will learn how energy meters are used to measure the electrical energy being used up by electrical loads. Thanks for watching. Welcome to the session on energy meter. So what is an energy meter? Energy meters, also known as a watt-hour meter, is an electrical instrument that measures the amount of electrical energy used by consumers. Utilities is one of the electrical departments which install these instruments at every place, like homes, industries, organizations, commercial buildings, to charge for the electricity consumption by loads such as lights, fans, refrigerator, and other home appliances. Energy meters usually measure energy in kilowatt-hour. If one uses 1 kilowatt in 1 hour duration, 1 unit of energy gets consumed. So, energy meters basically measure the rapid voltage and currents, calculate their product, and give instantaneous power. This power is integrated over a time interval, which gives the energy utilized over that time period. They can be classified based on display under which there are analog needle, analog counter, and LCD display energy meters. They can also be classified based on the power supply system that they are part of, such as the single phase or the three phase. Mainly, they are classified under basic categories such as the electromechanical type induction meter and the electronic energy meter. As part of this project, you will be working with a single phase type analog electronic energy meter. The electromechanical energy meter has a rotating disc which is used as a reference for energy usage. The rotating disc rotates due to the action of two magnetic fluxes on it, out of which one is a constant flux and the other varies based on the amount of current that is flowing to a load. Nowadays, electromechanical energy meters are not used as much because electronic meters are comparatively more accurate, precise, and power efficient. Let's have a look at what electronic energy meters are made of. The electronic energy meter mainly consists of a current transformer, a voltage transformer, and an analog to digital converter. Current transformers reduce high voltage currents to a much lower value and provide a convenient way of safely monitoring the actual current flowing in an AC transmission line using a standard ammeter. As shown in the figure, the alternating current produced in the secondary coil is proportional to the alternating current in its primary coil. These current transformers also have very little effect on the primary circuit. Similarly, voltage transformers are designed to present negligible load to the supply being measured and to have an accurate voltage ratio to enable accurate metering. Step-down transformers are used for this purpose. Now, since voltage and current are analog quantities, they need to be converted to digital format before being is the schematic of operation of an analog electronic energy meter. The voltage and currents of the power line are rated down to signal level using transducers like the voltage and current transformers. It then uses the AD7755 IC, which is a single-phase energy measurement IC, to acquire and process the input voltage and current parameters. These signals are sampled and converted into digital format and multiplied by one another to get the instantaneous power. Later, these digital outputs are converted to frequency to drive an electromechanical counter. The frequency rate of the output pulse is proportional to the instantaneous power, and it gives energy transfers to the load for a particular number of pulses. A digital electronic energy meter is much like the analog electronic energy meter with the addition of a microcontroller unit that accepts the inputs from the energy measurement IC AD7755 and serves as the brain of the system by performing all the necessary operations like storing and retrieving data from memory, operating the meter using buttons to view energy consumption, calibrating phases, clearing readings, and it also drives an LCD display using a decoder IC. Smart energy meters, the most advanced form of energy meters, read, process, and send feedback to customers about their energy usage. They can also store energy data on a remote server and can communicate with your devices wirelessly at any point of time. In the next video, you will learn about safety measures and precautions that you must take while working with electrical appliances. Thanks for watching. Welcome to the video on electrical safety measures. Follow the safety measures and precautions that are shown in the upcoming slides when you are working with electrical equipment. Know the standards that are used in your country for electrical equipment. Also, always use a circuit breaker or fuse with appropriate current rating when you are using a junction box. Keep electrical devices far away from water. Always use insulated tools while working, and also wear shoes when you are working with electrical devices. In the next module, you will learn more concepts required to write the program for your home automation system. Thanks for watching. Video on testing the energy meter. For this, you will need an energy meter, a plug, a bulb holder, and a bulb. First, you need to connect the wires to the bulb holder. For this, loosen the screws in the terminal at the bottom of the bulb holder. Then insert the wires and tighten the screws. Next, you need to connect wires to the plug as well. For this, take the 2-pin plug and first disassemble it. Then, take any one terminal, loosen the screw on it and fix one wire to it. Do the same with the other terminal and the black wire. Pass the wires through the cable grip slot. And place the head on the casing as shown. Assemble back the casing of the plug with the screw. Now, in order for the energy meter to read the power consumed by a bulb that will be placed in the bulb holder, you need to connect the energy meter in between the line and the load, which are the plug and the bulb holders respectively. So first, open the casing of the energy meter shown here. These two terminals are the input terminals for the line, and these terminals are where the load must be connected. So loosen the screws and connect the wires of the plug and the bulb holder as shown here. The red wires are the phase wires and the black wires are the neutral wires. After connecting the wires, place the casing back onto the energy meter. Place a bulb in the bulb holder and connect the plug to a 230 volt power supply carefully and switch on the supply. You will notice a green LED that blinks every few seconds. This LED receives pulses which power it on for a brief period. These pulses are sent when a certain amount of power has been consumed by the load to which the energy meter is connected. In the next video, we will have a look at the components that are a part of the energy meter. Thanks for watching. to the session on components of the energy meter. As mentioned earlier, you need to take the output of the pulses that the LED in the energy meter receives and then send these pulses to the Arduino board for reading and transmitting the energy usage data. For this, you need to disassemble the top casing of the energy meter. So remove the respective screws shown here. On removing the casing, you can see the electric components present inside. These are the 4 LEDs which indicate the status of phase and neutral connections, earthing, earth leakage and current loss, and one which blinks to indicate energy consumption. This is the application specific IC designed for this energy meter. This is the counter which counts the energy usage. This is the oscillator, these are capacitors, this is a resistor and this is a capacitor. This is the current transformer which is used to sample the current flowing to the loads. Now, we need to connect 2 single pin connectors to the pins where the pulse LED is connected. So first, cut the pins of the LED and remove the LED from the circuit board. Next, take the single pin connectors and strip one end of the 1 pin connectors as shown. Now, you need to solder the 1 pin connectors to the circuit board at the points shown. Once you have soldered both the wires to the pins where the pulse LED was connected, assemble back the casing of the energy meter. The wires are sitting outside the case of the energy meter while assembling the casing. In the next module, you will learn about the Arduino development board